everybody, Craig Lieberman back at you again with another episode. I've been waiting for a long time for this, and it's all being made possible by this guy. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, of course. What's up, guys? I'm Dustin Williams. I'm a content creator here on YouTube and Instagram and stuff, and I guess today we're taking a look at the APR Evo.
Yeah, and I'm really jealous because movie cars are getting really scarce, as you know, and this one was missing for a long time. We tracked it down to APR Racing, who, ironically, they've sold me a lot of my Aero for my GTR, and I didn't know that they still had this car until about a year ago.
Right.
But there were a lot of mysteries surrounding about this. But the first mystery is, how the hell did you find it was for sale, and how did you beat me to it?
Dude, it's a crazy story, honestly. So we were working with APR on getting some Aero for my 570S, and we were there. I saw the car back, you know, they have the three different cars. They had this car back there, and I kind of, you know, died for a second. I was like, oh my, wait, is that it? And you're like, oh yeah, come check it out. So we went and checked it out, talked to him about it for a bit. We talked about like, the world tour, how it's been sitting, they couldn't get it to run, all that stuff. And so at the time, I didn't really think about, oh, they're gonna sell me this car, you know? So I go home and I'm thinking about, dang, for the channel, I'd really like to build another Evo, you know? And in thinking of that, I hit my guy up at APR. I was like, hey, I have a crazy question for you, but I'm gonna ask it anyways. Do you guys think you'd ever be in the market to like sell the Evo? And he was like, you know, let me talk to my boss about it. Let me see what I can do. And so, you know, a week later, I was at their shop loading this thing up on the trailer. So, I mean, it was honestly just a chain of events that kind of just happened weirdly, you know? Just a random
place, right time.
Absolutely.
Right amount of money.
I was not in the market for a car at all. It was just a random thing. And, you know, me as a kid, you know, knowing about this car, it's like, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity that if I don't do it now, it's gonna go away.
Now, you were an Evo guy. You were telling me earlier that.
Correct.
Walk me through a little bit of the history and the journey to get you to fall in love with this platform.
Yeah, absolutely. So my very, very first car ever before modifying cars, anything, was a Dodge Charger. And my dad is the one that got me into cars, and he kind of handed me down his Dodge Charger.
Old Charger, new
Charger?
Charger?
It was a newer one. It's a 2006, so it was right when they changed to they brought it back. That was his dream car. In that area, when Tokyo Drift came out, and that's when I really learned about Japanese cars. And so this car specifically was the one that made me fall in love with Japanese cars. So down the road, when I was able to, I actually got my very first JDM car, which was a Honda Civic Si. And that's what kind of like entered me in big time. You know, I did all the Ricer mods, got that all on my system. You know, we did the JDM badges, the stickers, all of that stuff. And that was really my first entry level JDM car. And so when I was able to finally, I actually bought my dream car, which was, you know, the Evo 8. And it was really cool. It was Evo 8, Evo 9 engine, super awesome, very well taken care of by my good friend, Alan. So I bought that, and I actually recreated this car right here.
Wide body kit and everything?
Not the wide body kit. Well, I did Saban wide body fenders and, you know, Voltex side skirts. But as far as the color and the livery goes, that's what I recreated, because I knew ever since I was a kid I wanted this Evo. So I was actually able to buy it, or buy my first Evo, and, you know, recreate that. And now when I saw this car and it was the car, I was like, there's no way I can pass this up. Really funny though, because I had just sold my Evo. So I just recently sold it, maybe 6 months, a year ago. And so I was really, really not looking into getting another one, but, you know, it just kind of happened.
One other thing we were talking about earlier was, you know, where you live kind of influences your car choices.
Sure.
You know, I lived in an area with pickup trucks and muscle cars, and that was all the jam. And so as a young person, I wanted to be different. I think your story kind of mirrors that. So tell me a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So I'm originally from Mississippi. I moved to California maybe 4.5 years ago. But in Mississippi, as you can guess, the car scene is not huge. You do have a sprinkle of JDM, but the entire scene is all lifted trucks. Or squatted trucks, whichever way you want to go. But the entire car scene was trucks. I had a few friends that were into JDM, but, you know, a lot of people kind of gave you a little bit of hate for being a Honda Civic kid or a Honda guy, you know. But I don't know why I was just so drawn to the JDM culture. You know, I think I've loved Japanese cars ever since I was a kid, you know, or Japan itself ever since I was a kid. My dad got me into Godzilla, and seeing Godzilla in Japan, you know, it's just a whole thing. So ever since Mississippi, I've kind of been diehard JDM.
Yeah, for me it was like David versus Goliath because I had Datsun Zs and 510s and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So if you beat a guy, and you got to remember back in the 80s, American cars like Trans Ams were making 160 horsepower,
Yeah.
and these cars were making 90, 100 horsepower.
Right.
But they're lighter weight and all that kind of stuff. So to beat somebody in a Trans Am or a Camaro or something in a little 6-cylinder straight six
Yeah.
was kind of a cool thing to do, and that always stuck with me. And
Right.
I did own some muscle cars too, but for me, the JDM thing struck. But when you're talking about seeing Tokyo Drift, when you first saw the movie, tell me about the reaction when this car came on screen. That pivotal moment.
It opened up a whole new world for me. I had never seen cars at all in that capacity. The Fast and Furious 1 and 2 were great, but for Tokyo Drift, for me, that is like what in my head I thought car culture would be. The underground car meet, the people everywhere, the cars everywhere, the racing, like the drift, like it was just, that is what I thought car culture was and what it should be. And so when Sean gets this car and I see this car, or you see Han's garage and you see the SXs, the Zs, and then it does that pan shot from Sean to the Evo. It just gives you goosebumps. You're like, holy shit, that's so cool. That is
Swing the camera around and there's the car just sitting there like there's a halo above it.
I have goosebumps right now thinking about it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I think that's really like what was like, I need that.
Okay, so you saw the movie when it came out in the movie theaters, probably 5 times like everybody else did. It was the best movie in the franchise. I agree with that. Tell me about what it was like when you finally got your hands on this thing. Could you believe what was going on?
No, and the crazy thing is I filmed my reaction. It was kind of just like a sit in place and reflect on like what in the hell I just got myself into, like seeing this car in the movie versus seeing it in person, you're just like, oh my God, this is what got me to where I'm at right now. Without seeing this car, who knows, would I have this garage? Would I be into JDM cars this much? And now to be able to get this car back and restore what got me here today is like, what in the hell is going on? I absolutely could not believe it at all.
And here we are,
and
16
yeah.
years later. I remember seeing the movie. For me, it was the exhaust sounds. I know some of them weren't accurate because that's part of the sound design process.
Sure.
But when you hear your car, the car that's supposed to be your car, and if it's even remotely accurate, there were only a few cars that were accurate. And I didn't pay attention much to the Evo sounds. Do you think they were generally accurate?
Absolutely,
Okay.
I do. Yeah, especially from hearing this car too. I don't. Maybe you could shed some light on here. This car has pretty much like the full HKS catalog.
Right.
How was the Evo in Tokyo Drift the same way?
No. They typically don't modify the cars unless they need to get more horsepower or specifically for stunts. As you probably already know, a lot of the cars were converted to rear-wheel drive. I forget the exact number off the top of my head. I'll have to look at my notes. It may only be a couple of them. It may be, basically, if they were stunt cars, they were going to be rear-wheel drive.
Right.
My understanding from reading information that was posted right about the time the cars came out is that Rod Millen did a couple things. I think they just did exhaust and that kind of stuff, and it picked it up to like 289.5 horsepower at the wheels. These things are rated at 276 factory, which is bullshit. Everybody knows that. They're probably closer to 300 or maybe a tad more. So that would put it around 20% loss, maybe 240, 250 at the wheels, right, when all-wheel drive. So a 289 is not a terrible number. Cars don't need to go fast in movies, really. If they need to go fast, they get a flying start and the camera starts when they're hitting 60 miles an hour, 80 miles an hour.
Right.
But they don't need to do 0 to 60. I do know this. The car that one of the magazine tests was with Edmunds or Motor Trend or one of those. I think Johnny Lieberman did a write-up on it. He said that the Evo that they tested was like 2.5 seconds slower to 60 than a bone stock Evo.
Right.
Because it was rear-wheel drive, not all-wheel drive. So of course. So a lot of people read those articles online and in magazines and said, well, these cars are slow anyways, or because they just didn't understand. So a lot of them got a bad rep with people.
Right.
But people who knew. Now, if you take a look at this car and you take a look at everything that's under the hood, maybe tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to pop the hood?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, let's do it. Sweet. Okay, so like I was talking a little bit, This does have pretty much like the full HKS catalog, sort of. So we have a full HKS exhaust system. We have the HKS turbo kit, HKS front mount intercooler. We have an HKS piggyback ECU system. We have the twin power ignition system by HKS as well, which I'm guessing was a huge thing back in the day to kind of like
Every little thing, they were doing Nology wires and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Anything to get just a little bit of an edge.
Yeah, so I mean, from what I can tell, this thing rips. You know, apparently it made around 450 horsepower. It does have headwork. I'm not exactly sure what kind of headwork it is done. The APR guys don't really know either. It's been so long. It's crazy though. I mean, the car's a literal time capsule, which I think is the coolest thing. From me as a kid, this is exactly how the cars were built back then, because it's been just
The blow-off valve, the HKS heat shield around the turbo.
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking a look at this freaking
the wastegate.
The wastegate's
It's just
huge. It's awesome to actually see it. So also a big thing with the car only has 10,500 original miles.
That's insane.
On a 2005 Evo 8, 10,000 original miles.
It fascinates me how many people have movie cars, right? And then they just let them sit and rot.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, granted, it wasn't used on screen. I get that, but this is better than the on-screen cars because movie cars are treated worse than rental cars. I mean, they don't even try to hide the damage after a shot, right? Unless that car is going to be reused. This car served as the prototype, okay? This was the model that Universal copied to build their 10 cars, right? And then at the end of all that, you know, those cars were trashed, and it didn't matter that they were trashed because they were all going to get crushed. Mitsubishi had to crush them because they were prototype cars, so they couldn't be sold to the public because they're not federally legal. They don't have all the safety equipment and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And on top of that, these cars have been used in stunts. You cannot sell a stunt car just to some guy, some kid who won it off of an eBay auction because there's liability issues.
Right.
If they're driving down the road and a cross member falls out or the transmission explodes, everybody's getting sued, especially if there's an accident.
Yeah.
So APR had this car sitting in their showroom for essentially 20 years. I know they did some for 15 years. It was doing some promotional tours. It went to Taiwan. Didn't it go to, I think, Mexico City?
It went all over the place. And I think it was gone for a total of 3 years overseas.
3 years to promote the movie?
Yeah.
To promote a movie, it came out in 2006. They were promoting for 3 years.
Yes.
The next one didn't come out until, what, was it 2009, I think?
Uh-huh. So I guess it was right up until Fast 4 came out, really.
Yeah,
I guess.
Interesting.
Which is crazy. And then apparently what happened was when the car got back, they couldn't get it to run.
Because you know what was going on? The people who were taking it off the trailer and pulling it up to the display area? Hot laps.
Oh, I think someone actually told me that someone turned up the boost and kind of broke something. And so when they got back, they kind of figured that out, fixed whatever it was, and then eventually the car just wouldn't run anymore. And so what we found out was the entire fuel tank had completely rusted out. So I'm guessing possibly what could have happened is they ran those 3 years on one tank of gas possibly, and they just let it sit while it was overseas, maybe the seawater, like the sea breeze getting into the tank, or I don't know what happened, but there were holes in the gas tank and everything. So we kind of restored that, put a fuel cell in there, and the car fired right up. So.
Yep, I heard it this morning.
Never.
1, 2, 9, 3.
So this is the view that most people get of this car, the back. I notice you don't have a license plate on that. I assume you're going to fix that before you get on the road.
Absolutely.
How are you going to smog this thing?
Well, thankfully, as I told you guys, I actually am from Mississippi, and I still have a room in Mississippi, and my ID is in Mississippi. So
It's the wild,
be,
yeah, you.
This will be registered in Mississippi.
Okay, there you go. Smart move. So part of the process of restoring this car was getting it running, and the fact that it sat for 20 years, the spark plugs were probably junk.
Yep.
And you said you had problems with the fuel system. I was watching your video, and Tim was saying that it smelled rank coming out of the car. It was like
a horrible, horrible stench. Like very, very sweet, and it was just very bad. Our neighbors actually, it seeped into our neighbor's offices as well.
Really?
So, yeah.
Like death?
Like death, yes.
Yeah, so you can't kill anybody in this building because the smell is going to travel.
Exactly.
So what did you do to remedy it? You said you were like replacing the fuel tank.
We replaced the entire fuel system in the car with the help of Handmade Performance, Radium, and Deechworks. We have the radium fuel cell in the back, which, I mean, it's a full race car already, and this is something that the car should have, I think. So we did a full radium fuel cell, 10-gallon. We have Deechworks fuel lines, injectors, fuel rail, everything brand new, in hopes that this would fix the car, and it did.
Sure it works.
So,
No woofers?
nope.
No nitrous bottles?
No, nothing yet. Nothing crazy yet, you know.
Okay.
You know-
No neon? Where's the neon?
We do have neon in with the Z.
Stop
but
that.
A little Easter egg that no one really knows about is this little Darth Vader helmet back here,
What was that about?
and it lights up. I don't really know, but when you press the brake, it lights up. I
Yeah.
think it's a cool little Easter egg.
The transportation guys, the guys that work in the picture car department, often do stuff like that. For example, if you take a look at the first movie, this is one that a lot of people talk about. The Toyota badges are upside down on the Supra,
Oh, really?
right? And the Acura NSX emblems on the NSX and the Too Fast, Too Furious, the hood emblems are upside down.
Wow.
They just do that just as a goof to see if anybody noticed.
That's
The
pretty
R33 GTR that was in the Motor X R33 GTR that was in the first movie has a free Tibet sticker on it.
Really?
It's like a sunrise thing. It looks kind of like the cross between the New Mexico flag, the Tibetan flag, and I don't know what else. But people are like, why is that on there? Because some picture guy stuck it on there and no one knows why.
That's so funny. I love the little Easter eggs that they throw in here.
There was a lot of Easter eggs.
Yeah.
So the big plan for the car is to get it running again, get it making close to what it was making before or better, 450 plus.
Sure, just as reliable as possible. And I want to be able to take this car to places, different meets, and show it off. Because I mean, it really is a piece of our car guy history, And I want, just as I enjoy it, I want others to enjoy it as well.
Well, June 20th, June 19th that weekend, if this car is running, we're going to have some kind of 20th anniversary Fast and Furious event with a bunch of cars. A Dom RX-7. We'll have hopefully the Maxima from Dom up in Canada, who's building a perfect replica of my car.
Wow.
It's almost done. It's literally almost done. And then maybe Dave Deshane is going to send down his Super, or Juan Kozakart is going to have his Super replica. We'll have a Charger. We'll have a green Eclipse.
And all of them, huh? That's pretty sick.
Yeah, so we're going to do something, so I'll keep you posted on that.
Absolutely.
But for people to see this car, people have to remember that this was way better than what the movie cars were. Because the movie cars were just disposable.
Right.
They're props, really,
Right.
So this is what they were trying to model it after.
Sure. And I think another difference that I kind of want to touch on as well is something that people notice is that the livery is a little bit different. In talking with APR, I kind of found out that they wanted to shrink the APR logo to fit other sponsor logos as well. So they actually contracted out the APR logo, and APR gave them permission to change it on the movie car. So they shrunk it a little bit, which is why it looks a little bit smaller, and added in all the different other sponsor.
Yeah,
logos as
the
well.
sponsor logos is the same problem we were having in the first and the second movie. The first movie, Universal didn't care, so we put logos on the cars.
Right.
There was banners everywhere, that kind of stuff. The second movie, I actually have memos from the art department saying you need to shrink the logo. Shrink the logos.
I have the official paperwork from Universal to APR listing out what they wanted to do with everything, which
Yeah.
I think is a really cool piece of history as well. It kind of showed that it is legit,
Yeah. So, I mean, everybody knows it was legit.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's
I
unquestionable.
know. There's always those people that kind of think it's a replica, and it's hard to get it through.
The problem is there's been a few people throughout the past, just since I've been paying attention the last 5 years, who have put these cars up for sale and say that they were movie cars or screen used cars, is the term that we typically use, and then come to find out they were not. Well, that's going to wrap it up. If you're not following this guy on YouTube and on Instagram, you should be. Give yourself a shout out for your Instagram page.
Yes, it's just Dustin W with 2 eyes.
You'll see a picture of his mug right there in the profile picture. And your YouTube channel is under the name of?
Dustin Williams.
There you go. So just like,
Yeah, if you guys
we couldn't come up
check
with
out-
a name, so we just said, we'll just use our name, forget it. So people know that it's not fake.
Yeah, so if you guys want to see us rebuild this and get it back on the road, you can follow us and see all the other crazy builds.
And we're going to drop a link to his profiles in this video down below in the description. Please make sure to give him a follow, comment, send encouragement. And if you have questions, at least watch the video before you post a question, because it might have been answered already in the video. But that's going to wrap it for this time. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next episode.